Hey y'all, Father Jim Haney from St. Paul's in the Plains. I am in northeastern New Mexico. I was on my way to Colorado for church camp and decided to take a little break and make a rim hike around the crater of Capulin Volcano National Monument in northeast New Mexico. This is a fairly new volcano. It's only about 60,000 years old. Supposedly it hasn't erupted in a while, but who knows? It might erupt sometime, probably not anytime soon, but it's kind of cool to be up here. Just a couple of years ago, I would not have been in shape to make this hike. So it's fun to be up and be able to get to this altitude and hike around the rim of this volcano. There's an ancient hymn by St. Patrick, attributed to St. Patrick, that talks about the Trinity. I bind unto myself today the strong name of the Trinity. And in one of the verses, though, Patrick talks about all kinds of features of creation. And at one point, he talks about the stable earth, the deep salt sea around the old eternal rocks. Well, as much as I love St. Patrick, he got that one wrong. The earth is not stable. The rocks are not eternal. Rocks, continents, have a life cycle. They arise and they move and they are destroyed again. The continental plates are on kind of a conveyor belt. North America and Europe are moving apart from each other an inch or so a year and getting further and further apart. And one day we'll slide under the Pacific and get remelted, and the rock will come back up. It's kind of a neat life cycle. But the same thing goes for wind. Air moves around the planet. It doesn't stay in one place. Water doesn't stay in one place. There's a cycle of water evaporating and then raining down and then flowing downhill to the seas and then evaporating again, and so on and so forth. Those cycles are important for nature. We'd be in big trouble if those things did not happen. And yet those things can at times cause us problems. A little too much wind and you have a tornado or a hurricane. A little too much water, you can have flooding. A little too much earth movement, you get earthquakes, you get volcanic eruptions. And it's unfortunate if you're in the vicinity at the time that any of those things happen. And yet God gives freedom to his creation. God sets up the world so that it does renew itself, so that there are cycles. God is not intending to punish people when there are earthquakes. It's just the price of doing business. It's part of having freedom on this earth. That's easy for me to say. If this volcano were erupting right now, I'd probably have a little bit more panicked response. But in theory, at least, I can acknowledge that God gives his creation freedom. And sometimes that freedom chooses to do things that are unfortunate for human beings. And yet, in the long run, we wouldn't be able to survive without those things happening. The same thing goes with biological processes. DNA is able to mutate. Oftentimes that's good. God has used evolution apparently to bring us to where we are. And yet, at times, cells can go haywire and DNA can go haywire, and you can get cancer. You can get mutations that run amok. Again, creation has freedom to act for our benefit, but at times it can be hurtful to us as well. And yet it is part of God's marvelous creation that creation does have the ability to change, to renew, to grow. In Genesis, God commands the earth to bring forth life, commands things to happen, and they happen. God sets his creation up with the power to do things, and that is to our benefit. In the 104th Psalm, there's a wonderful line. The 104th Psalm, the psalmist says that God looks at the earth and it trembles. He touches the mountains and they smoke. I thought of that line while up here on the volcano. But then as I was looking at that psalm, my eye drifted 2 verses up. And it also says, 2 verses before that, God, you send forth your spirit and all these things are created. And so you renew the face of the earth. And so as I sit atop this volcano, I think of God's renewing power in creating mountains, creating volcanoes, creating continents, allowing life to arise, allowing winds to move and waters to move. It is a marvelous, marvelous, amazing thing to behold. And so I'm thankful for God's creation. I'm watching a hawk fly right over me right now. It's a glorious day, and I hope you have a wonderful, blessed week. God bless and take care. Bye-bye.